Your attention, masters, mistresses. All systems functional for the Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, my name's Rich McDonald, and I played David Mason in Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and you're listening to Everything Geek podcast.
Hey everybody, you're listening to Everything Geek podcast. Thanks for listening.
Hey, it's Leif Gaffert. I played Uncle Ben's killer in The Amazing Spider-Man, and you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisherbecker. You probably know me better as Dorian Moldovar from Doctor Who, or the Fat Friar from Harry Potter. And this is Everything Geek podcast.
Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot with the Everything Geek podcast.
You're listening to the Everything Geek podcast, bringing you interviews from your favorite films and TV shows every week, and all of the latest news. Here's your host, Ruari Williamson.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host Ruari, and joining me today is a very special guest. We have Shelly Shenoy, best known for playing Kate García in the Walking Dead Telltale Game, SkyBlock Female A and Rebel Female B in Minecraft Story Mode at Telltale Games Series, Eileen Summers and Kathy Rain, Amy Wellard in Shardlight, Chantelle in Technobabylon and Tara in 846. She also worked on Game of Thrones at Telltale Games Series, Batman the Telltale Series, and The Walking Dead. Michonne, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
So getting right into my questions for you, Shelley, can you tell me how you got into acting originally?
Originally, it was a really organic way into my life because there were a lot of kids in my family. And so in order to get attention, you had to be the most creative. And so we were all sort of like little performers. And so, you know, my parents put us all into performing classes, and we were very into the arts. And so I got involved in acting classes when I was really little, and I just loved it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Can you tell me how you were originally cast as Kate in The Walking Dead?
Sure, we're just going to skip, and we're just going to go straight to The Walking Dead. I was born, I took an acting class, and then I was Kate García in The Walking Dead. That's pretty much the story of my life, really. I'm totally playing with you. How did I get the role of Kate?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what you're asking?
Yeah.
I auditioned. It was like a warm summer day. It was early in the summer of 2016, and I saw the audition come in, and I sent it in, and about 10 days later, I found out that I got it.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it just goes to show as well how secretive something like The Walking Dead is, because you had to wait 10 days, you know, to find out that you had got the role.
Oh, yeah, and the thing is that, like, you know, being an actor in this industry, and I work with, you know, I've got my agents in New York and LA, and, you know, auditions come in pretty regularly, so when I found out that I had booked it, I actually hadn't, like, you just kind of like forget these auditions. Like, I was surprised. Like, I was like, wait, what? Like, and then I went back and I was like, oh yeah, this audition, like, I thought it was a great audition, but I don't know. Like, you don't know anything, you know? Like, so I was genuinely surprised, you know, it just in like, oh, cool. All right, great. You know, it's not like you sit around hoping, you know, sometimes you do, you can't help it, but like, it's just another audition. And I had no idea that when I had booked that part, like how great of an effect it would have on my life. You know what I mean? So it was just it's been a fascinating experience.
Absolutely. And did you know it was The Walking Dead when you did the audition? Because sometimes with big projects, they have like code names to like disguise what it
Correct.
is.
I don't believe I did. I actually did not. I actually think that I think that all I knew was that I was auditioning for a girl named Kate, and I said, in the audition, it was a dialogue spot. It wasn't like a monologue. It was a dialogue. And so I went back and I listened to my audition, and I said Javi's name wrong in the audition, and somehow still got the part. So that's crazy. But because I didn't know because the script didn't say this was short for Javier, and so I was like, Javi. So I was like, what is that, Javi? Like, I had no idea because I'm an idiot. So I said Javi. I somehow still got the part. I have no idea what they were thinking.
That's brilliant. I'm not even sure how to respond to that. I mean, I suppose I'm lucky in that I knew someone with that name before, so I wouldn't know how it was pronounced, but I mean, it is a tough name to read, in fairness.
Well, no, I mean, if I had known that Javi was coming from Javier, I would have known that it was Javi, right? But, it was just written Javi, and I'm an idiot, and I was like, And to be totally honest, I think it was one of those auditions where I was on my way out the door. It was one of those days. It was a really crazy busy day, and at the last minute, I was like, "Oh crap! I have this audition I have to do before I leave." And I kind of it's not that I rushed it, but I didn't. It wasn't one of those auditions that I sat down and obsessed over. I didn't even know what it was for. I just gave it everything, threw it in, and ran out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it would have been.
So, and then unfortunately, it's easy to make really stupid mistakes when you do that.
Yeah.
And I did, so.
Yeah. Now, I have to ask on that as well, did the crew ever, bring it up to you after casting you about that mistake?
Never. It was never brought up. And the thing is, and I had only done it, I don't know, once or twice in the audition or whatever, but I may have even asked, and I don't know that anybody even remembered, because from the date of my audition to the date of our first record was a month, and so nobody even remembered.
That's probably
it was just
fortunate.
Not even. Yeah. It's just really interesting, right? Because it shows you how unfamiliar you are with the whole world. Now I would die before I made that mistake again, but I'm so deeply involved in the game and Javi the character and Kate and the whole world of it. So it's so funny to me that such a dumb little mistake got through, and what a big deal that mistake would be to me 2 years later. Whereas if I never got the part, I never would have thought of it again, and I never would have even known that was the girl I would have auditioned for. If I had heard down the road that somebody that a different actor did it or whatever, I never would have put the two things together.
Absolutely. And
does that make sense? Yeah.
Definitely makes sense. And as well as that, it's probably a good thing it was in the audition and not the game itself, because the fans, they pick up on these things.
Oh, well, but the creators would never let a mistake like that go through, right? You don't make a mistake like that on the job, but mistakes like that in auditions, they do actually happen all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. You never know. You'll be auditioning for a game and you'll see a name that comes up and it's just all consonants. There's no vowels in it. And you're just okay. You're never going to pronounce that right because you don't know the game creators. You don't even know what game it's for. So you just see a name and you just give it your best shot. So that happens pretty regularly, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine. Were you a fan of the game or the Walking Dead franchise itself before your casting?
Yes, I wasn't a diehard fan, but I was very familiar with the game, the show, the series, and all of that. You just kind of have your ear to the ground, but it wasn't something that I was nearly as deeply involved with as I am now. But yeah, I absolutely, you're a fan of, all kinds of stuff like that, and but not the way that it is now. But I was absolutely aware of them.
Yeah, it's really cool. And when you did land the role of Kate, what were you told about the character originally?
This was like, it's kind of fascinating because I was actually not told very much about Kate. I was told that she was in a love triangle, and I was told more about David and like who David was and who Javi was, and wasn't truly told too much about Kate. They kind of left everything up to how I put it together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So I was told the basics, but the way I was told basic information. I was told about her relationship with David, and I was told about Javi, and it was kind of left up to me to sort of react to all of that in the game.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting approach, them explaining more to you about how Kate is with other characters, rather than, telling you too much about Kate herself. It gives you a bit more of an opportunity to, explore the character from your perspective, if that makes sense.
Right. And, they had general, guidelines of where they wanted scenes to go, but my reactions were all left to me. And then, but they have wonderful directors and stuff like that. So it was a group. It was all done in a safe group setting where we kind of, Kate sort of evolved. I mean, she completely evolved from the first rehearsal to the final episode, for sure.
Yeah,
for
definitely, sure. Absolutely. And what was it about the character of Kate that drew you to the character or appealed to you?
Oh, I loved her, man. I think that Kate has a heart of gold. She's had, some bad things happen to her, but everybody has. And when it comes to the end of the day, she's gonna protect the ones that she loves, and she will put herself on the line to make sure everyone is good, and she will do everything she can to make sure everyone is happy, and and then she deals with her drama as best she can, sort of in the only way that she knows how, but she always prioritizes everybody else before her own feelings. You know what I mean? I love her. I love her because she's really a lion. She may not have always known she was a lion, but she was.
Yeah, for sure. And if there are any at all, what would you say are the similarities between you and Kate?
Well, when it comes to standing up for the good of people and the community and fighting for what's right, we're the same person. And then every once in a while she likes to make a joke, and I think that some of those jokes may have been written in because of what was happening in rehearsal and stuff like that. But yeah, I think. And then as far as us being different, I think we have different approaches to relationships. But I care for Kate. I understand how she ended up in the position that she did. So I get her. She's my boo.
Yeah, and I have to say it's a really impressive answer, because I just threw that question at you I wasn't even planned. So I think you handled that really well.
Thanks.
And what do you do to get into Kate's character when you're recording?
Truly, that always depended on what scene we were in. So Kate would have her different moods and her different perspectives of where we were and what was going on. And sometimes she was fighting, and sometimes she was heartbroken, and sometimes she was madly in love, and sometimes she was, sort of passive, and so it always depended on what was happening in the scene. And there isn't too much time for preparation. You show up and you're not sure exactly what you're going to be working on in that record, and so they tell you and you jump in. You just dive in. They give you a really clear, the directors and everybody on the line when you're working and reporting, they'll tell you exactly what's going on. They'll make sure all your questions are answered, and then it's action. And you just dive in, and you're in the scene, and you're acting and reacting to what's happening based on the options they've put in front of you.
Yeah. And on that subject, of course, how did you react when you read the script for the season 3 finale episode from the Gallows, including the multiple endings?
I want to give you a more creative, clever answer, but the truth is that the endings were, like, the way that we recorded all of it was so spread out over several weeks. So it wasn't like we did it all in the exact same record. It was like built up over layers. So not to say that the recording process was confusing by any means, but we're only let on to know and understand so much, and so you record all these different options, and it's just interesting to know that they're all out there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's how people are going to play the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And if you played a game yourself, what ending did you end up with?
Okay, Ruari, so I knew that this question was coming, and I have a confession.
You don't play the game?
No, I played it up through episode 3.5, and I didn't end it. There was a part of me that was like, that didn't want to, and then to be fair, I also got like really crazy busy, and it was always fun to sort of have it in the docket. Like, there's part of this game that I haven't even played, let alone different versions of the different endings and all of that. But like, I can tell you there's only one way that my episode, or that my season 3 is going to end, and Kate and Javi are going to be A-okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, that is the best ending for you, so, yeah. I mean, it's actually my preferred ending.
Wait a minute.
What?
What did Jess say?
What did, Jeez, I did this in...
You interviewed Jeff. What did he say? How did he end the season?
He said he did get the one where Javi and Kate were alive, and if you haven't played the whole season, if I say anything other than that, it's a spoiler, so...
Oh, I mean, I obviously played out every single option, so as the actor, so I'm completely aware there's no such thing as a spoiler for me, because I was already in all the scenes.
No, I just made myself sound like a complete fool.
Yeah, so it's not a spoiler for me, darling, but I actually did talk to Jeff about that. I know that, like, we both had the intention of playing the game, like, of course, our characters are very happy.
Yeah.
In both of our versions. So, yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, so I will say then, like, he did get the ending where Javi and Kate were alive, and the one where Clementine kisses Gabe. So Gabe, that was one of Gabe's death scenes. So Gabe died. Probably David too, I imagine. So... yeah, I'm pretty sure it's what he said. He definitely said he got the one where Clementine kissed Gabe, and that was one of Gabe's death scenes. So, yeah. Yeah. I'm impressed with myself. That was 5 months ago, and I still remembered it.
Good for you, buddy. I'm glad you remembered that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but, I mean, obviously it's understandable, because, I mean, obviously anyone in the acting industry has such a busy career, it's hard to find time to play games sometimes.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Like, I have people write me on Instagram pretty regularly, and they're like, "Hey, what's your PlayStation 4 gamer name?" And look, I'll tell you my gamer name, but like, I'm never on there, you know? Like, I don't know if like the next time I open it up, if there's going to be like, I don't know, friend requests or something. I have no idea. If people can find you on there, I don't know if that means that you're then playing games with them, but I wouldn't mind. I mean, I just never get to go on there.
Yeah, probably the next time you check it will be like months from now or something, and there'll be like, you know, hundreds of contact requests or whatever.
Yeah, there might be. It's very possible. Yeah, but I've got a cool gamer name, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'll give it to whoever wants to know it. But like, it doesn't mean you're gonna see me on there.
Yeah. How would you describe the experience developing the character of Kate over the course of the 3rd season?
Man, it was such a cool experience, because when the season started, Kate looks completely different. They were using a different model for Kate. At one point, she was actually a blonde. They weren't sure if she should be brunette or not. So she started a completely different looking character, and she was a little more dry and a little bit more like whiny and complaining. And when they started putting the episode together with the lines that they had written, they realized that that's not how they want Kate, and that's not what they heard in my voice, and that's not the direction they wanted to take the character. So we re-recorded the entire season. The entire episode. We recorded episode 1 like for months. We recorded it and re-recorded it until Kate was exactly who they wanted to be, and I was there for every step of her process and her development. And so I'm deeply involved with like who she started with and who she ended up to be, and I couldn't be more proud. I absolutely love her, and the development process was gorgeous. It was really cool to be a part of.
I think that's really great, not just with you, but also with the crew, like how much care is put into the characters, because, you know, they could have just been like, well, we've already recorded all of this material, let's just, you know, go with it and see how people respond to Kate. But, you know, they were like, they were honest and thought to themselves, yeah, we don't really like what we're going with so far. Like, we want her to be different, so let's change it up and re-record the episode. I think that's really great. It just shows how much care goes into the work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, tons. These guys put just endless hours, days, weeks, and months into these games. I mean, it's stunning, and it's worth it. I mean, like, look at the game. It's incredible.
Absolutely. What would you say are your favorite memories from your time working on The Walking Dead?
You know, I loved meeting Jeff, and actually really, really early on, I worked live with Jeff so that they could get a read on our actual chemistry together. And it was amazing because that was like my second record, and I still had no idea what I was doing. Like, I still didn't really know how big of a part Kate was in the game. Like, I was just like, oh, and who's this guy? Like, because they didn't tell us, you know? And so I was just reading, we were just having a great time, and it wasn't for like, I mean, 3 months later, I saw my character on the season 3 poster, and I had no idea that like she was such a pivotal part. You know what I mean? Like, you just go, you show up to work, you're doing this, but like I didn't know that. Like, I didn't really know, because they're not going to tell you exactly what you're doing. You just go up and you give authentic work, and then you find out exactly what's happening, like literally behind the scenes later. So one of my favorite memories is actually reading with Jeff when neither one of us really had any idea exactly what we were doing and how big it was and what was going on. I mean, we knew it was The Walking Dead, of course. We knew who our characters were, but we didn't know too much more. And I was on, that was Jeff's very first record, and it was my second record.
Yeah, that's really great, you know, how early on it was as well, because, you know, I think you two, you know, working together very early on might have helped you find the characters in a way. If
Oh, for sure.
Sense.
Oh, for sure. What they heard, like when Jeff and I were just riffing and playing, I mean, we had really good chemistry, and you know, and I think a lot of that ended up in the writing. Yeah. You know, because they just kind of let us go, like we were just working together and like riffing. And you know, when stuff like that happens, even if it's in a dramatic situation, there were a good amount of jokes. And then later, and then like maybe the next week, they gave Kate pot. After like I had been like making all these jokes, like, you know, and then next thing you know, they were like, we're toying with the idea of giving Kate a little marijuana, and I was like, hello, great, you know, and because I'm just a comedian, you know, always, you know, just sort of playing around. I love playing with them, and I love having a great time, and I do love it when it gets really dramatic, and so I love the spectrum. And so they just kept adding element to element to Kate especially after those records where Jeff and I were live and we got to do our thing. And then we sort of saw a deeper development between the characters after that. So that was probably my favorite part, because it was such a true behind the scenes experience of like how this stuff really, how the magic gets added to this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like improv in a way, but, you know, it's not so much improv, it's just like, you know, you point out something that they didn't think of, and like, then that becomes a thing that actually gets added into the episode, and I think that's hilarious because, you know, I mean, it's kind of like just such a real world thing to kind of do, even in the apocalypse. I don't smoke myself, so I can't really say it's a real world thing for me.
Sure.
But
Sure.
yeah, but but I think that scene was hilarious though. I loved Gabe and Mariana's reactions to it.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it was all good times, you know, and yeah, these guys really know what they're doing. It was really fun to play around there.
Yeah, and I have to say as well, my favorite part of that scene is when you get the option as Javi to say to Mariana, like, something like, "Oh hey, I think we just ran over a skunk back there." Yeah, but you also get the option to tell the truth, which is, you know, I had like just some little parties at my house where like people wanted to come over and play the game with me, and so we always just played and replayed episode 1, and every single time I had friends that were playing in the game, they always just told the truth because I thought it was so funny, because we wanted to hear you know, Javi tell these kids, there's this thing called marijuana or whatever. So yeah. Anyway. You are very dependable friends, if even in video games they just want to tell the truth the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's fun because it creates these very real human moments, you know?
Yeah. But, I mean, most of the time, even in games, I would tell the truth, but the skunk line is so funny that I have to go with the skunk line every time.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very funny.
Yeah. And also, which would you say has been the most challenging role in your career so far? And not necessarily just voiceover, but anything you've worked on, including on camera?
What is the most challenging?
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's different types of challenges, you know what I mean? You know, I guess I mean, I was in a movie called 846 that's about the World Trade Center collapsing, and I play a real character whose name is Tara, and she was on the 110th floor, and her real 911 call is my scene. Like, and, you know, they built a life around this character, but based on her call, her real 911 call. And, I mean, honestly, I mean, like, as far as acting on camera goes, that was just brutal. I mean, that was just really tough, you know, that's portraying, you know, characters like that, especially from that are real, you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, acting on camera has its challenges. It's very long hours, but it's so rewarding, and it's, you know, an amazing time, but it's got its challenges, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's probably one of the tougher ones.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. My final question for you, Shelley, do you have any upcoming acting roles or any other projects that you would like to talk about?
Sure. Yeah, it's got some good stuff coming out that I can't quite say what it is yet. But one of my own projects, I'm creating a voiceover channel on YouTube, actually. And so my channel on YouTube is, you know, because I'm a you know, I'm a coach and a director for voiceover, and I've started a lot of voiceover careers, like substantial careers in the last several years. And I don't just, you know, create demo reels for people. Like, I create and educate things that are needed for voiceover actors that were never there when I was coming up in the industry. So I became that. And so a lot of the coaching techniques and a lot of the stuff that I've, you know, like, won some kind awards for and stuff like that, and been approached to write and be a keynote speaker and stuff like that. I'm just going to take a good amount of these tips, and I'm going to create these clever videos and start showing people what the deal is. So I'm in pre-production right now. I've been working on that for a couple of months already. So I'm a big planner, but that's going to be happening on my YouTube channel this summer.
Yeah, it's a really great idea. I think it's also great that you're also, you know, coaching and directing as well, because, you know, it's just really great that you're able to kickstart other people's careers. Like, and it must, you know, give you a lot of satisfaction and happiness for other people as well, you know, when you find out that they've landed a role or, you know, something like that, you know, after, you know, you had coached them.
I get some amazing updates from my students. I had a girl who finished working with me in December, and by January she was actually working in voiceover with Spike Lee. I had this wonderful actor. You know, I get some big name people that come my way who want to take their voiceover game to the next level, and I worked with the man who played Ken in Ken and Barbie, who was voicing Ken for 10 years. And he was working out in Los Angeles, and when he came to New York, it was kind of a different game, and he was sort of he had booked work from the time he was a young kid in Los Angeles, but had never officially trained or learned technique. And I worked with him in February, and 2 weeks after our training was done, he did my 10-day intensive program. 2 weeks later, he had booked his first union national campaign, and he was signed with one of the biggest agencies in New York before he was in LA, and then he came here and he didn't have reps. And so it's just wonderful. And then I worked with another kid who we just finished working together, and he went and scored the lead protagonist role in an up-and-coming video game company that looks absolutely stunning. So, like, just seeing this stuff, like, actually working for people and coming back to me and being like, if I never learned this, I never would have booked this. And they're so wonderful and grateful and, you know, such hard workers, and I'm so proud of them.
Yeah,
I'm really proud of them.
amazing.
It's a tough industry, and the people that don't shy away from hard work, to see them keep it up and do so well is the greatest thing I could have imagined. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's really fantastic. That's all of my questions for you today, Shelley. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you, Ruari. I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me.
Hopefully we can talk again sometime. No, what was
Ruari,
it? Yeah.
real quick, I'll need you to email me your mailing address, because I have a little thank you that I'm going to send your way. And also, that's the thing that I was doing actually right before this interview started, was I just returned from the post office, and I had just had these Walking Dead thank yous made that I'm sending out, actually, for people that have sent me fan work or fan mail or fan artwork. They've mailed it to Shelly Shenoy mail at Gmail, which is, that's my email address that's out there for like people to send me artwork and those wonderful things that they make. And I always say, if they send it with their home address, that I'll get around to mailing them a thank you. And all of these amazing thank yous were made, but I also just had my post office, my P.O. box address made. So I've got my public mailing address as well. So I'm going to be able to start sending them out. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So I'll also, so you'll have to mail me your, or email me your address, and I'll shoot one over to you as well.
Thanks so much. And there's no way I'm telling my address on air, of course.
Well, don't put it publicly. Do not put it publicly, Ruari. But if you would like me to mail you just a little something, then you can email it to me at the address that you have.
Yeah, I definitely
for
will.
me, the email address that you have for me.
Yeah. Thanks so much. I'm very glad you interrupted me now.
No problem.
Yeah. Thanks so much. So hopefully we can talk again sometime.
For sure.
So I'll look forward to talking to you on the show again soon. Thanks again for joining us, and take care. Bye.
Thanks, Ruari. Bye.
Time to wrap up today's show. Make sure to check out our podcast links. Check out our website, website.everythinggeekpodcast.com/EGP. Check out our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast. Check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/everythinggeekp. Check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/official-everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our Mixcloud profile, www.mixcloud.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Email us at the following email, everythinggeekpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our companion podcast, Everything Geek Comiccast, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekcomiccast. Make sure to check out the hosts' YouTube channels. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/septusdestroyers. Check out Shelly Shenoy's website, www.shellyshenoy.com, and check out channel 1138 where we broadcast live from, www.channel1138.com. Geeks out, everyone.
Yeah, I do, because there's Clementine and then there's Melissa Hutchison. And granted, it's my job to be Clementine in the studio, but like Gavin Hammond is one of my very best friends. Like we're like BFF.
Because it is the thing that is probably the best choice you can make, the truest choice you can make. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely watched things and I've had to tape things because I need to put them on my reel or I want to put them, to promote.